Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this second episode of Coral Sea, we're going to clean up some of the rule mistakes that were made in the first episode. And I will clarify those before we start playing, but I'm not going to go back and replay the first few turns. So the first one, which is probably the most egregious one, was on the attack table. The aircraft losses are against the attacking player's air force, not the defender. That's going to make a difference because it will whittle down your attack strength over time. The second mistake, not quite as bad, deals with the evasive tactics. I was including all the aircraft in each task force strength, and it really is just the hull strength. And the third error was I randomly selected who the Zuikaku was attacking in the 2 rounds of combat, when the second round should have gone against the weaker of the 2 task forces, as opposed to, as it turned out, they attacked each of the task forces. So we're going to just attribute that to pilot error. I'm not going to take responsibility for that one. That happens in combat, right? So I've got the game set up back to where we were at the end of turn 2, and we're going to continue on there. Okay, so we're going to be starting turn 3. So a couple of things. C and B are left, and C and B, there was some confusion from comments off the first video. Those are Japanese strike forces. There's Strike Force A, B, and C, and A has already been dispensed of. Sequence of play, we mark our cap, our search direction, and we move our American carriers. So we're going to mark our cap at 3 for both the carriers. We're going to search, Yorktown is going to search west. The Lexington will search south again. We're then going to move them 2 squares. Now a note on searching. You cannot search diagonal. You can only search north, east, south, or west. Sequence of play number 2, we roll dice to determine the Japanese event. 66, poor visibility. American air searches are ignored this turn in shaded areas, which are columns 1, 2, and 3. We are not there, so that will not affect us. But we still use the movement and cap numbers for the Japanese strike forces. We'll go to B. B is to move down, move over, and down, but because they're at the edge of the map and that movement makes no sense, we ignore that for B. C moves into this square here. And one thing on the movement that I found from playing, it's much easier just to go ahead and move the convoy first. So I will start doing that on future turns. Part of the reason is there are a couple events where the Japanese strike forces move towards the convoy 4 spaces. And if they move towards this location and then the convoy moves, that doesn't make sense. So the convoy moves first, then the Japanese strike forces will move. So now we're going to go into the beginning of turn 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play through these turns where there's movement until we get to a point of an encounter or close to an encounter, and then I'll come back. Okay guys, so we're actually on turn 5. The Yorktown and Lexington have moved straight across the map. The convoy actually got to move twice 1 turn, is down to here. We rolled an event for the Japanese. A 1-4 is attack Lexington. Move all Japanese strike forces 4 movement spaces towards Lexington's current location. So we'll start with Task Force C. They're going to move down 1, 2, 3, 4. They'll move to this location here. I've already moved the convoy for this turn. I did it before I rolled the Japanese event. Okay, so we have an interesting situation here. By moving Strike Force B up to 4 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4 puts them in the same square as the Lexington, which means they will find the Lexington, and the Lexington and Yorktown will find them because they're all within the same square, which is the first criteria on your search. It does say move 4. I'm going to literally move the 4 and put them in the same area. Okay. Now we conduct searches. Everybody is found in this hex here, and we go on to combat. Now in this particular case, because the event was attack the Lexington, I'm going to have the Zuikaku attack the Lexington. I'm not going to do it randomly. They have 1 cap. The Zuikaku has 1 cap. So let's roll the defense of the Lexington, which has 3 cap. We roll a 3. On 3 cap is 1 plane. The Zuikaku loses a bomber. Okay. Now, their attack strength. The Zuikaku has a 19 attack, which is 15 plus on the table. They roll a 4, which is 3 ship and 2 plane. So the Lexington takes 3 hits. And the Zuikaku will lose 2 bombers. Now, the Lexington will now attack the Zuikaku. So the 1 cap for the Zuikaku, we're going to roll on the defensive cap table. There's no need to roll as the value is going to be 1 plane. So the Yorktown loses a bomber. The Yorktown's attack strength is above 15. We'll roll on the attack table and we get a 3, which is 3 ship and 2 plane. And we're going to take those off of our fighters because we have the option of choosing the fighters or the bombers. Now the Yorktown is going to attack the Zuikaku, cap of 1. A 3, again, no need to roll. The Yorktown loses 1 bomber. So earlier I had taken the bomber off of the Yorktown when it should have been the Lexington, so we're all square there. The attack value is on the 15 plus. They roll a 1, which is 2 ship and 3 plane. The Yorktown will take off 2 fighters, 1 fighter and 2 bombers. We want to keep our 3 cap. Okay, next we go into the Evasive Tactics table. Currently the Zuikaku has a strength of 5, which is less than the Lexington and the Yorktown combined, so they will attempt to evade. We don't want them to get away though, do we? So we roll 1 to 4 on the table, 5 to 6, no escape. 1 to 4 is an escape, except that there's a +1 dice modifier to the Japanese during the Evasive Tactics. So basically a 1 to 3 is an escape, 4 through 6 is no escape. So a 2 is an escape. So the Zuikaku escapes. That doesn't actually move outside of this grid. So the Zuikaku escapes, but it doesn't move outside of the grid. It is still near the Lexington. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play this out here so you can see what happens. So we've set the Lexington to search south, and the Yorktown to search west, but we're not going to move from this grid. We're going to see where the Zuikaku and Strike Force B move. So before we roll the event for the Japanese, we're going to go ahead and move our Convoy 1. Now if it has to move 2, we'll go ahead and move it a second time. I'm keeping track of my rolls here. 61. Cruisers attack. Apply 1 hit to American task force of choice if in the shaded grid. We are in the shaded grid, and I think I'm going to give that hit to the Yorktown. There are now 3 hits. The Lexington has taken 5 hits. I wanted to keep this task force together. I don't want this Zuikaku to get away, but we're going to see now where it moves. And in this case, it moves, wow, 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness, how fortunate. They search west and south, but nobody's going to find anybody. So they disengaged and were able to cruise west. So the Zuikaku successfully disengaged from our 2 task forces. Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity. Okay. Let's move C before we forget. C moves to there. So just a note, there are a couple of movements. They attack the Lexington, they attack the Yorktown, and defend the invasion force, which gives the Japanese strike forces 4 movements in the direction of whether it's the Lexington, the Yorktown, or the invasion force. And that makes up for dumb movement by the AI, as you saw with B kind of floundering down around here until it attacked, and then it was able to disengage and actually move away. That was random, the moving away part. But C is kind of just doing nothing up here currently. That's the Shoho. As the task force gets down here, if we roll a defend the invasion force, they're going to move in that direction. And so that does correct some of the stupid AI movement. And it works pretty well. I'm going to say it works pretty well. It's a nice design decision. You saw that they were able to get, again, the attack in with the Shoho on the Lexington, hit and run, as it turned out. So I'm going to go ahead back into playing the movement until we get closer to another encounter. Okay, guys. So I didn't even make it through this next turn, turn 7, before we're going to get some engagement. So what I did is I put the Lexington is searching east into this square here. The Yorktown is searching north, this square here. The task, or the convoy, the invasion convoy, has now moved into that square. I moved the Yorktown and the Lexington both up 2. And then the event that I rolled was attack the Yorktown. Okay, which means this is going to move 4 squares closer to the Yorktown. So 1, 2, 3, 4. C will move into this location, and you see what we were just talking about. And B is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we got choices, guys. The Shoho is too far out of range to attack. We haven't even spotted it. Zuikaku has moved back in, and it says it's going after the Yorktown. It would make more sense for it to go after the Lexington because it's weaker. The event is attack the Yorktown. So I'm going to play it based on the event attack the Yorktown. If it was just normal movement, I would attack the Lexington. You may or may not agree. but that's how I'm going to play this. So, Zuikaku has 3 cap this turn. And they're going to go ahead and attack the Yorktown. The Yorktown has 3 cap. And the Lexington has 3 cap. So let's roll on our defense table. A 3, 1 plane. So the Zuikaku loses 1 of its bombers. So with the 3 cap, adding the fighters and the loss of bombers, their attack force is now 14. So we roll on the table for 14. They roll a 5, which is 3 ship and 2 plane. So the Yorktown loses 3 boxes and 2 more aircraft are lost from the Zuikaku. The Yorktown is now at 4 strength. The Lexington is at 5. Now, the Lexington, or let's start with the Yorktown. The Yorktown will be attacking the Zuikaku that has a cap of 3. They roll a 1, which is 1 plane. So the Yorktown loses 1 bomber. There are no fighters in this attack. And plus it's a bomber anyway on the cap. Their strength is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. A 3 is 2 ship and 2 plane. So Yorktown loses 2 more bombers. The Zuikaku takes 2 more hits. So the Zuikaku is down to a strength of 3. Now the Lexington attacks. Cap of 3. They roll a 3. They lose 1 plane. Bomber off the Lexington. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. They still have 3 cap. So they're at 15. They roll for their attack, which is a 3, which is 3 ship and 2 plane. So we're going to take 1 fighter, 2 bombers. And that 3 sinks the Zuikaku. So here's our situation, guys, at the end of turn 7. Both the Shikaku and the Zuikaku have been sunk. The Shoho, which only has a strength of 4, is the only hope of protecting the convoy. Okay, we're going to start turn 8. Now we know that the convoy is going to come down into this square. So we're going to bring the Lexington over here. And 1, 2, put the Yorktown right there. Okay, we're going to move the Yorktown and the Lexington both forward 2. Their cap is both going to be at 3. We're going to search north with the Yorktown and east with the Lexington. We know that the convoy is going to move into here at least, which will be spotted and we will be able to attack. And let's roll on the event table for the Japanese. Two, 3. Long-range search. Conduct only first round of attacks if the American task force is within search area. Japanese receive first strike capability. Oh, interesting. C's movement is to this location here, and they search these 2 squares, north and north. There's an example of the dumb AI. I don't know if there's any way of getting around that. Now the convoy does not search. And so what triggers is conduct only first round of attacks if an American task force is within search area. Also, the convoy doesn't attack, so it's not going to get the first strike capability. So basically at this point, what we're going to have is the Lexington and the Yorktown both attack the convoy. The convoy has